And we are back with another Black with No Cream podcast. New episode every single Wednesday and Sunday. I'm your host, Ben Haggerty, aka Ben Real Verse World. And I am just here to tell you guys about our July Patreon only bonus morning roast podcast episode. It is currently available to our Patreon members. And I just wanted to let everyone else out there in the world know that this exists. This episode that we did was titled Turn Your Interest into a Career. The reason why we chose this topic, me and Dave get into it. You can hear the full episode later. I'll tease a little bit of it later in this recording that I'm doing right now. But Dave had read this tweet to me about some guy, and he was like, name four hobbies that you have, and one of those hobbies could potentially turn into your career because of your interest or your obsession with whatever your hobby is. And a lot of people don't understand that they can turn their hobby into a career. And I was at first like, well, duh, that's pretty fucking obvious. And Dave was like, yeah, but I don't think it's as obvious to a lot of people. And I don't know, it sparked a good debate. So we got into it, and I'll play a little bit of it here so you can check that out. But make sure to subscribe and join us on Patreon, patreon.com/blackwithnocream. We are almost at our 100th Patreon mark, which means, I don't know if you've read it. If you go to the Patreon site, you can see what happens when we hit these bench levels or whatever the fuck you call them, goals. But when we get to 100, that means that I'm basically challenging Dave to a 100-yard dash out front of our office, and we're going to record it. And the loser has to stand in a Hollywood dumpster somewhere here in Hollywood for 5 minutes with an umbrella reporting the weather. And we're going to film that shit, which will probably be Dave. At least that's what I've been saying. And it's not fair to him right now because he's not here to defend himself. He is over in the corner behind the camera, and he's flipping me off. Now he's pulling out a gun. Where'd you get that gun, Dave? He's a Texan. Anyway, so if you want to help us get to 100, we're almost there. We're at like 92. Go to patreon.com/blackwithnocream. Get this podcast episode. Get access to our Discord. All the other bonuses of becoming a Patreon member, including the How to Charge a Client guide. You can get that there when you sign up. Do that now. Right now. Are you doing it? Why the fuck haven't you done it yet? Oh, you're doing it now? Good, thanks. All right, cool. Well, I'm going to play a couple of minutes from this episode. If you want to hear the rest of it, it is available at patreon.com/blackwithnocream. Thanks, guys. Bye. And it's back. Today's episode is pretty tight, actually, because Dave was just listening to Chris D'Elia's podcast last night, and he brought this up.
Yeah.
The topic. The topic is about turning your interest into a career, which is great. And honestly, when Dave brought this up to me at first, I was kind of confused because I was like, well, don't most people just do what they love? And Dave had a good point about how some people could see stuff that they think is cool and just try to do it just to do it or be in that lane. But really, they could thrive better or farther by doing something else that they may love more and just not realize it, right?
Yeah. I think you and me and a lot of creators, we're passionate people, right? So like we to us, it makes perfect sense. Oh, we're passionate about, like, why wouldn't you do it? But I think a lot of people like aren't blessed with knowing what they're passionate about, right? And part of that comes to like not even thinking like, oh, what am I interested in? You know what I mean? And like figuring out, okay, how can I take my interest and figure out how is there a business and what I'm interested in, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that all this comes down to the idea of like, when you are doing something you love, and that's cliche, you will go the furthest. And so I was listening to Chris D'Elia, and he was talking about this because he had read a book about the Nike founder and all he had to go through. Like, supposedly the book is insane to talk about all he had to go through to get Nike off the ground. And it all came down to the fact that he was just so fucking obsessed with shoes and track and sports that he was able to go through it.
Right.
And going to this tweet from this guy, Ray Polanco, he's like a creative in the sneaker industry. He basically says, like, he tweeted something. He says, don't get lost in the comfort of your big corporation job. It could be gone at any moment. Build your personal platform so you have something when you decide that job is no longer for you. Right, which is just typical. We've talked about that something before. And someone was like, how, Ray, how? And he goes, write down 3 things you're interested in and would do for free. Chances are you're passionate enough to figure out how to get paid from your interests. Research the industry online, ask questions, and find community events associated to your interests. So I think the dopest thing about that is, like,